treating mental health like you should treat mental health. You should treat it like you treat all other health, and frankly, one reason for this 8-state 2-year pilot that's about to be extended to one more time for 2 years is to keep track of all the other health costs of people who have mental health challenges. And I think what we're gonna find out is you actually save more money on the other health side than you invest on the behavioral health side. If somebody's showing up for their appointments, taking their medicine, eating better, sleeping better, feeling better about themselves, their other health issues are more easily, you save more there than you spend to do the right thing on mental health. Everybody's always known that treating mental health like all other health was the right thing to do. And everybody's always conceded easily in that discussion, well, certainly over a lifetime, you save a lot of money, and the police save money, and you save money in the emergency room, all true. But if you could ever get this down, in my view, where you could show legislators and others that you save money in the immediate space of healthcare, then you've got a really persuasive, not only you save money right there where your healthcare dollars are, so you get to do the right thing and save money at the same time. And that's been a big addition for us. In Missouri, when you'd show up at a behavioral health clinic 5 years ago, it would take 80 days on average to get your first appointment. Now it takes 5 days and seen the day you go in, if you need to be seen the day you go in. And that's just by having that additional help. We're gonna have to go in just a minute. Medical marijuana, from the federal issue, the only thing I would say, I'm not totally sold on this, but I voted a couple of times because of discussion with veterans and their families and others to allow states to do what they need to do here. What I think we ought to do now, frankly, is allow that money to be bankable. You know, right now it's against federal law, so you can't use a federally insured bank. And if you've got a problem that you think has potential negative activity surrounding it, you don't help that by making it all cash. So I'm on the side that says we should let, this is going to be legalized in some states as legal behavior, that legal behavior should have access to the banking system rather than become you have to carry a cash around kind of system. Okay, I think I've covered my list. Anybody have one more? Anybody one more thing? Yes.
I just wanted to talk about the appropriations process. Do you think that the impeachment inquiry is going to impact the ability of appropriations to move forward? Will everything stall in DC, or do you think things will be able to move forward?
Well, I'm on the biggest appropriation committee, which is defense. I chair the next biggest one, which is labor and health and human services and education. And we just need to get back to the normal way of doing this. We almost got there last year. We funded 70% of the government before the beginning of the fiscal year. That doesn't sound like a bragging point, but it hadn't happened in about 10 years. We need to find a better way to agree on the spending number early, and we've done that for next year. This year we've agreed on the spending number, but I think didn't appropriately allocate that money in a way that both Democrats and Republicans would be happy with the non-defense allocation. And we're going to have to do that, and hopefully we'll get that done in about a week. And if we do, I think we'll have the majority of the government funded by Thanksgiving, and all of it funded before the end of the year. But you can spend your money a lot more effectively if you get it the first day of the spending year than if you get it 4 months into the spending year. And we just need to do better about this, and it needs to be much more publicly done. For decades, the main job of the federal government was to publicly talk about how you're going to spend the money. And I think that's still the most important power in the balance of power that the Congress has, is the ability to decide how to spend the money, which is why I'm supportive of a lot of things happening at the border, but I didn't vote for the emergency declaration that the president had is to declare an emergency and then decide to spend money differently than the Congress had appropriated. I think the president's job is to convince the Congress how to spend this money. And if it's an emergency, it's an emergency. But if it's not an emergency, if you have like a 5-year plan to solve the emergency, an emergency has to be a little quicker than that, I think. And by the way, I think we're doing pretty well at the border. I was down there. Okay, wearing watches out back there. I was down there the 3 days after Labor Day, and 2 things are happening that weren't happening 6 months ago. One is the new president of Mexico, with some pressure from our president on potential tariffs, which I didn't agree with the tactic, and I told the president this, but the result was unbelievable, is they are helping us now at both borders. 6 months ago, well, in June, when the president announced the agreement he and the new president of Mexico had made, there were 55 Mexican troops at the Guatemalan border. There are now 10,000 Mexican National Guard, which is a new unit that the president set up, a National Guard. Unfortunately, it's a little too much modeled on the Venezuelan National Guard, but it's a National Guard. And he came up with it because he wanted a group that was not as dependent maybe on drug traffickers and others as the military and the police were. So they went from 55 people at the border to 10,000. And that border is a lot narrower than the border with us. And then they had 15,000 people that they didn't have before helping us at our border. And it's making a big difference. And maybe the biggest difference being made is the people that are waiting for an asylum hearing, now if they're native Spanish speakers, go back to Mexico and wait. And the Mexican government is allowing that to happen. And then they come for their hearing. You know, for 10 years, you'd get here, you said the 3 things you were supposed to say that qualified you for an asylum hearing. They'd give you a date, which was 90 days or 6 months or longer, and say, okay, you come back for that, now you can go in the United States anywhere you want to and wait. And only about no more than 15 out of 100 people that claimed asylum would ever be qualified for it. And they just wouldn't come back. But now if you have to go to Mexico and wait, suddenly the entire system is no longer working for you the way it had been working for people who came to the country without a legitimate asylum claim. And many of those people, by the time they get back, either they know before they come or they know when they get here, well, the old plan is no longer working. Can you just put us on the first plane back to Honduras? And we will fly anybody back to Honduras or anywhere up in Guatemala or El Salvador. We pay for that. Just, okay, we're gonna send you back. If you ever have a legitimate asylum claim, you can come and make it. And so, you know, the numbers are way down. The only people that come to the United States now, that come into the country, that get to the border, are unaccompanied children. And we don't send them anywhere. We do keep them and try to find somebody that in the United States that is a safe, reasonable contact for them to be with. So, well, thank you all. Great to see you.